going on?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. My name's Jeremy, and
Jeremy,
welcome
I'm
to the Hair
Tony.
Metal. Nice to meet you, Tony. Welcome to the Hair Metal Rules podcast.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
I like your whole thing you got behind you there with your logo, and that's pretty cool right there.
Yeah, that's my office area. So let's keep it.
That's a neat office area. I
Yeah,
could
it's
sit
fun.
in there. I could sit in there and just be a happy guy.
I know, right? Totally. Yeah, it depends what mood I'm in. I'm changing the light colors and whatever. So, it's cool.
I hear you. So, what's going on in sunny California today?
It's hot. Like all of
Yeah.
a sudden over the last week, it got hot. All of a sudden, like summer just said, here we are. Oh,
Yeah, here in North Carolina, this time of year, July, I believe I was watching the news earlier, and it was 110 where I'm at today, and the heat index was
yeah.
120.
My hot ain't your hot for sure. Like
You're
I'm
right.
complaining because it's hot here, but like I know back there it's like crazy. Like I've been in New York and Florida and stuff in the summer. It's just like it's a whole other level of muggy and hot.
The humidity it would literally slap you around when you
Yeah,
walk
no, it's for
outside.
sure.
It doesn't care.
No, it doesn't at all.
So, how did the band first get started? I know the band was around in the late 80s.
Correct. So
So,
I started the band back in in 80s. Let's see, probably started it in 86, but didn't really play anywhere until 87.
right.
And we played some local things in San Diego because that's where we're from originally. And it wasn't until 1987 was the first time I ever played the whiskey. I
Right.
remember playing with a band called Dancer. Or was it Dancer or Dancer Lane? I don't remember, but um, and it was like it was everything I wanted it to be, like playing the whiskey, and you know what I mean, like
Oh, yeah.
and so that lineup was different. I was the drummer at the time,
Yes.
and I love playing drums. I still love playing drums. Like it's just I just love it. It's so
Hell yeah.
so the other singer, his name was Lance. The bass player, his name was James, and or no, we had got rid of James by then. It was Mark. So as Lance was the singer, Mark was the bass player, and I was the drummer. TJ was the guitar player,
Right.
and we played that lineup for a long time.
Mhm.
But then, like a lot of bands and things, like egos or things clash or whatever, just as much my fault as anybody else's fault. Like we all kind of,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
ended up doing that. Me and TJ stayed together, ended up getting a couple more guys that were lived in Anaheim, which from San Diego is about an hour plus drive, like an hour and 15, 20
Mhm.
minutes. And that was the lineup for a long time. We stayed with that, and Dennis was the singer. That was like Foxy Roxx to me, where
The whole Sunset Strip 80s thing fascinates me.
it's great.
I mean, anybody that I have on the podcast that were in that area during that time, I love to hear the stories because I've told it on my podcast before. If I could invent a time machine, I would love to go back. I'm 53, so I started
Okay.
listening to this around 85, 86.
Yep.
I would
Yeah.
love to have experienced that one
Well,
time.
it's it was everything that people that people talk about it being, and then some. Like
Right.
seriously, it was like, it's so funny because like now, like the scene's still alive and there's still a music scene in Hollywood. And again, since we've gotten back together and we're playing, the shows are crowded, and that's great. But like
Yeah.
when you leave the strip after the show, or not even the strip, you leave the whiskey, and then you go out in the street on a Friday or Saturday night, there's like there's no one there. It's
Right.
weird. And
Yeah.
so we always go up to the Rainbow, and that's still crowded and stuff. But back in the day, there was thousands of people there. I mean, thousands. You couldn't even see the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And it was just everybody was partying or things, or there's girls driving by hanging on the top of limousines, like flashing everybody. It was just crazy. Like, and going to always some party in the hills, and like it was really, really fun.
I think that's just the coolest. I think the 80s, I call it hair metal. I know a lot of people don't like it to be called hair metal. You have hair metal, you have glam metal, you have hard
I'm
rock.
proud of all that.
I loved I loved the glam part. My favorite bands were that were Rock's Gang.
Yeah,
I dug Rock's Gang, of course. Pretty Boy Floyd.
yeah, yeah.
When I heard Leather Boys with Electric
Oh, it's a
Toys,
great
I was
album.
like, wow, this is some cool stuff here. I
Oh,
have
hell yeah.
I have since reacclimated myself with you guys because I do remember you didn't have access to bands like yourself because if it wasn't on MTV, if it wasn't on the Headbangers Ball,
Correct. It was hard
if it
to get
wasn't in,
known.
yeah, if it wasn't in Metal Edge magazine or Rip magazine, you didn't know who they were. But I've acclimated myself to the music you play now and YouTube
Oh, yeah.
older
Yeah.
stuff for you guys. And I wish you guys would have had videos in the 80s and you know what I
Yeah, it
mean?
was I know. Like it is one of those things where everybody wanted to try to do that, but again, us being doing what we did, we even Pretty Boy Floyd, we were all on that tail end of music changing.
Yes.
And so yeah, they got the shot, they got the videos, and it was awesome. Like, we were all like,
Right.
heck yeah, this is great. Because we all used to play together on the strip,
Sure.
and um, but like you said, then music just kind of changed a little bit. And
Right.
we hung in there till like mid 2002,
Mm-hmm.
and then we just cut it loose. Again, internal band conflicts, things, right?
Sure.
Um, but we were one of the last bands that still continued to do that. There was like us, Big Bang Babies, Revlon Red, Peppermint Creeps. Peppermint Creeps went on longer than we did, and I
Right.
love those guys. I mean, they're amazing guys.
Yeah.
So it's or even like in Pretty Boy Floyd right now, like Lonnie is from Heartthrob Mob is playing with them
Mm-hmm.
right now. I just
Right.
saw them at the Whiskey like what 2 weeks ago,
Right.
and so it's fun to be able to go hang out with everybody that's still kind of doing this, or just recently the Glamour Punks show
Mm-hmm.
at the Viper Room with Swinging Thing, and these are great things to kind of go back and reminisce a little bit. We're doing it now, and it doesn't feel so retro. It just feels really cool and fun, and people are having a fun time like maybe they haven't done in a while to see something like that.
I think it's great that all the bands that you spoke of. I think it's great that you guys still make music. I think it's great that you're still, you see a picture of the marquee at the Whiskey a Go Go, and it's 2024, and you see a band from 1986 that's still playing there. You guys, I know I've seen a lot of your things on Facebook. A bunch, there'll be 5 or 6 of you that'll be on a bill, and there are
Yeah,
a lot of
right.
names from 35, 40 years ago that are still playing.
Well, we're trying to set up a show, and I at the Viper Room just talked to the guys in Swinging Thing and Glamour Punks. We're trying to set up for next year, if we can work it out, like a Saturday night show at the Whiskey with like Swinging Thing, Glamour Punks, us. The Mistakes is another great band. Um, and so we want to do this big old school cool show and just crush it. Like we just want people to come and like whether they're reminiscing or maybe it's their first time seeing
Right,
something like this. I
right.
just I it's every time that we're playing now, it's just pure entertainment for something I never thought I would do again.
Mm-hmm.
So every show to me is like amazing. Like I love it. It's great, you know?
Well, it's great that there's a younger generation. I have a daughter that's 25, and she was listening to hair metal when she was about 2, and she loves everything about hair metal. She's into the Motley Crues and the
It's
Def
great.
Leppard, but she's also into the Heaven's Edges, the Hurricane Alice's, the
Yeah.
Hurricane. She loves it, and she likes the glam bands too from that era. And I think it's great that I know me and my wife, we go to M3 every year
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Maryland, and
Yep.
it's cool to see you got 70-year-olds there, but then you got this little kid that'll walk up that's 10 years old with a Leather Boys with Electric
Right.
Toys t-shirt
Absolutely
on,
love that.
knowing they've heard their parent or an
You know,
uncle
it's
or an aunt play
I
that.
got I got a 14-year-old son, I got a 23-year-old daughter, and a 25-year-old son. So
Right.
when we first got back together, like they had never really seen that.
Hmm.
So it's cool to same thing, like they're younger and there they are in the audience or whatever and watching and I'm get to perform, we get to do what we do, or we're playing with the peppermint creeps and they're like, wow, like because you just don't go anywhere these days and see that kind of thing.
No.
And so when you walk into like our show with the light up signs or the walls, like these are the walls I hear, or the peppermint
Yeah.
creeps with their black lights and things, you're getting what we all tried to give back then. We wanted to give
Yes.
you a show. We wanted to give you something that was bigger than what the grunge bands were doing at the time and this.
Hmm.
And I think I still latch onto that. I mean, I would much rather go see Kiss than Pearl Jam or somebody.
Of course.
It's not that they're not
Yes,
good musicians, but I want to see something. I
I
want to be
agree.
visually entertained.
I agree. And the the persona you guys had, you had big hair, you had makeup, you had lipstick, it was very visual just as well as it was musical. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, like these
No,
guys, because
I
I
do. I
thought
mean,
you
look,
guys were so cool.
I care just as much about playing well
Yeah,
and trying to sing as good as I can as looking cool and do our fog jets work, is the signs working, is the it's not one or the other. I don't look at it like that. I look at it like, hey, I want to sound good first and foremost,
sure.
but I also want to give you something else. I want you to leave there and go, oh my God, that was awesome and entertaining. And I just think that's a better mentality for bands, personally.
I agree. Me being from the East Coast, like I said a minute ago, my exposure to this kind of music was what you saw in a magazine,
Hmm.
what you saw in the Headbangers Ball, running home from school in the 11th grade and watching the Hard 30 or the Hard 60.
Back when MTV actually played music.
Back when MTV actually played
Bastards.
music. Yeah, and every now and then you would on the Headbanger Ball, you would see an obscure band you've never heard of, but
Right.
my I always gravitated towards the bands that were not Motley Crue, Def Leppard,
Yeah, the
Bon
non-popular,
Jovi.
but in that same vein of things. Right. Right.
Yes, and there was so many. My Instagram page, I try to put bands on there that people probably have never ever heard of
Yeah, I
before.
love your Instagram page. I know all those bands. So,
I,
I mean, I
I,
don't
I,
know them, but I know
yeah,
who they
yeah.
are.
I'm glad you like it. There's a couple of guys I've talked to. It's like, man, I completely forgot all about that band. I used to jam to that
Totally.
album
Yeah.
when I was in the 10th grade. But those are the bands, like I say, I always gravitated towards. And you would look in the back of a magazine and you'd see a little print ad from Arista Records or
Yeah.
the new band coming out. And I would
That's
read
I found out about so many bands like that from like remember there was a couple the Japanese magazine called like Burn, and there
yes.
was
Hmm.
Kerrang magazine
Yep.
and all those kinds. I used to see that and get those or again the back of Rip magazine there was little ads and things
Yes.
and Metal Ed same thing. I mean I remember the first time for me like we got in those magazines even if they were just
Mhm.
write-ups of our CD that came out.
Yes.
I was like hell yeah, this is
You
great.
made it.
Because, yeah, in your way, because you're like, look at this. And some of the times it was in Japanese. I'm like, I don't know what they're saying, but I don't even care. Like, it
It's
was just really
there.
fun to be part of what I had looked at so many times and thought,
Right.
oh, that's great. You know?
I have I wish I still had them, but they were in my grandmother's basement and the basement flooded. But I used to you could send $5 and you would get a cassette tape. I
Oh,
know there
yeah.
was a band called Roxy. They sang a song, Drive It to You Hard. They were
Right.
around, all right, it was $5 and I got their cassette.
Yep.
I actually got the very first Big Bang Babies CD, the ones where they're like on the floor. He's
Yeah.
got
They're
his
on the
hand
floor
right.
with Kit's on
Yeah,
the floor and he's looking up. Yeah.
and they actually, I didn't know it, but I didn't expect they actually autographed the inside cover of it, and this was 40 years ago. And
Yeah.
I wish I still had that stuff, but I got a lot of cassette tapes and CDs from sending a $5 bill through the mail.
Well, you
You know,
know, so again, like nowadays, even for us, now you can put something on Instagram and someone can see it around the world, or someone on
yes,
YouTube or whatever, right? But back in the day, there was nothing like that. So I literally would get on the phone and I would call up like Iowa, an operator in Iowa, and I'd be like, "Hey, listen, I'm from California. In your area, just give me a bunch of music stores that sell music products, you
right.
know, whether they're guitar centers or this or whatever." And I would call and get an address, and I would, "Hey, if I send you some flyers for our CDs, would you put them in your doorway? Would you?" And so we would do that, and then send them these big reams of these ads for people to order our CDs all around
Okay.
the country. I was on the phone constantly. And it worked at the time, right?
Yeah.
So we're getting orders from Iowa, from Mississippi, from here, from Guam, from all these places. And it was really cool. It was a lot of work, but now you just push a button. I
I know,
mean,
right?
you know,
The first the first time I ever saw the band was I was talking to Sean Duncan that played in Odin.
yeah,
Okay, I was talking to him the other day, and in California back at that time, there were these newspaper magazines that came out, and you could flip through them, and it would list everybody playing at the Whiskey a Go Go,
yeah,
and like little
yeah. It's like
pictures of them,
Rock City News or BAM
Yes,
magazine, or
bam,
yeah.
there you go. And that's the first time I ever saw pictures of you guys
Oh yeah,
that
we were in there
I
a bunch of times.
remember.
Like, yeah, it was fun.
But
I remember we had the
those are
back cover one time, like, or the inside back cover was all glossy. I'm like, oh, this is awesome, you know? It's fun.
those that was my exposure to, there were so many bands in California at the time, and it was just neat seeing their names
Yeah,
and
sure. I mean, I get
just
that too. I mean, again, it was for me, it was kind of like the cool dream come true of like same thing. I'd look at these bands, and now all of a sudden we're playing with them, and we're known as a Hollywood band now because we're playing. You know,
right.
it's just really fun. And I think what I liked back then, for the most part, there was a real camaraderie among bands and people.
Mhm.
We all stuck together. There were definitely some bands that had the ego like out of control that
Oh
didn't
yeah,
maybe fall into that,
yeah,
but I know for us, we always wanted to help out, or we wanted to, sure, you've got drumsticks, sure, take ours, or you got the, like, just be cool with each other. Everyone helped each
yeah.
other. Everyone sort of partied together. Everyone was our own huge scene, and it was really, really cool. And I still have friends from then that are like really, really nice to see. You know?
But it's nice to hear that, because just when you read things, it's like we were trying to outdo this band. We're trying to steal this guitar player, bands on top of bands on top of bands' shoulders, trying to
Well, and
get a
again,
little further.
that went on for sure. There was
Oh
always
yeah,
that thing. I mean, I think anybody that stepped onto a stage, I think you have to put your mindset in like, hey, this is my time and I'm going to be the best band on this thing. Cause I just think that drives you. It's
yeah.
not an ego thing to me. It's more like a confidence, like, hey, here we go. Right.
Oh yeah.
But there's people that stepped off the stage that still kept that I'm better than you. I'm this, I'm that. It's not for me. I just, just treat people how you want to be treated, and that's what you get back. And so, again, we always aligned ourselves with people that were really cool.
That's what my parents tried to always instill in me. You treat people how you want to be treated, and unfortunately, the society we live in now, I think the human race is kind of going away from that at
It's
times.
it's
It's not
interesting.
all,
It's all about me, right? I know.
exactly.
Let's look at my
It's just
camera. Let me just take another picture of my face and put it online, right?
I
I know.
know, and you're right. As far as I like to watch Instagram reels, and there's kids out there, there's bands out there left and right, and I think it's just so much. It's so easy for somebody to put music out nowadays,
Yeah,
and there's really sometimes I don't think the hard work is it's too easy, because guys like yourself, mean, you from what I have read, if I'm wrong, correct me, but a lot of times you had to sell X amount. You sometimes you paid money out of your own pocket.
Mhm.
You had to sell X amount of tickets.
It's still like that.
Really, it's still
Yeah,
like that
it's
now.
still like that. But
Wow.
we have no problem selling the tickets.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
if
sure.
you've done the homework and you've worked and you've promoted yourself and you're whatever, it's really no big deal.
Right.
If you're a band that doesn't want to do anything and then wants to play at the whiskey and they're like, "Oh, hey, it's $1,500." And you're like, then they don't do anything. Well, then that's out of their pocket.
Yeah.
So so the motivation, while no one likes it, the motivation for that is to get off your ass and go promote the club and go promote yourself.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we used to do the flyers all over
Yeah.
the, you know,
Right.
the electrical boxes and the thing, and the telephone poles and the light poles. Can't do that anymore. But
Yeah.
I mean, there was thousands of those, right? One band that
Yeah.
put them up would come and put them over and
Over
then they put them
yours.
over
Yeah.
ours. It's a constant battle that way.
Is it
But
easier promoting yourself in this day and time than it
I
was
think it's
then?
totally easier because like
Yeah.
especially for us being a band that wasn't around anymore, took the 21-year break and now we're back, there's at least a different interest for people to want to go see it, right?
Right.
Again, maybe it's nostalgia, maybe it's just something they miss or they lack now, and they go see it and they leave, and there's lots of high fives and hugs, and it's all happy and everybody's good.
Yeah.
And but now you promote yourself on Facebook or on Instagram or
Right.
and then your friends also do that too. And then it's just so much easier now. So I think it's easier for a band to maybe not, everybody talks about paying your dues, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
We we put in the work back in the day.
Sure. Oh,
I mean,
yes.
like religiously, especially we're from
Yes.
San Diego. We drive 2 hours plus to get to LA. It was a lot of work.
So
Um, but then,
you guys didn't live in LA. Did you
we
ever
we did
you
not. We never ended up living in LA. We just decided. I decided mainly, and everybody, all the guys in the band. I'm like, I don't. I love playing in Los Angeles. I have a lot of friends up there. It was great. I didn't necessarily want to live there and be part of the I need to go party every night in some club or something.
right.
It's just not my motivation, right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Um, and so for me, it worked well, and I think it kept us more into it and more fresh because every time we went up, and sometimes it was 3 times a week, it was still fresh and fun, right?
Oh yeah.
So, you know, that's kind of where we were coming from.
I I I talked to the drummer from the band Vane a couple of weeks ago.
Hmm.
I didn't realize that they weren't in the Sunset Strip constantly. He's like, no, they were from San Francisco.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he's like, we came down for a while to see what it was all about. And that really wasn't the scene we wanted to, kind of like what you just said. It's not the scene we wanted to
yeah.
stay in constantly. So we did just as well being so far up north, you know, we still did great and did not live in the Sunset Strip area.
Well, that's what I mean. Again, we're definitely known as like a Hollywood band, and because we were up there all the time. If there was something cool on a Sunday night, we're driving up. We're promoting. We're getting all done up, and we're promoting ourselves, and we're doing things. And that's, I think, it's a testament to any band that wants to put in the work. You want something now, just because it wasn't like, you don't get the break and you're not Bon Jovi playing these arenas doesn't mean
Mhm.
you didn't really do something and that's
Sure.
important to you.
Yeah.
So for us, we succeeded at what we did at the time. And again, coming back now, the fact that anybody can sit out there and I look out and there's maybe 500 people at a show at the whiskey and they're most of them know all our songs and they're singing them. That's like super cool to me, means
That
something. It's fun.
that would be, I think that would be flattering to me as a musician. I asked someone one time, I said, so what's it like having, thousands of people, singing every word to a song? He's like, it thrills me the same as if it were three people out there singing
Right.
every word to every song
Yeah,
that
it's
we
it's really
play.
neat. It's a really neat thing, something you wrote in your office or wherever, and then all of a sudden here's people singing it, and especially with us after not being there so long, or people bring CDs from back in the day and we're signing them, we're doing
Right.
things, and it's just been a really positive experience.
Well, who were some of your musical influences?
I mean, like Kiss for me was like the number one band growing up. I mean, I've seen them.
Yeah.
I think we tapped out at like 91 times when they're done
Good
now. I've seen them
gracious.
91 times.
Wow.
Um, and then it's the obvious ones. Like for our genre, it's the Motley Crue, it's Poison, huge Twisted Sister fan. Um, it's stuff like that, right? But
Uh-huh.
then I go with you on just there's so many obscure bands that weren't these mainstreams, right? I
Yeah.
mean, again, we're from the scene. We like Big Bang Babies or Pretty Boy Floyd or whoever, Peppermint Creeps. Like, bands like that. I think there's so much good music out there uh, that you don't just because it didn't go huge, it doesn't mean it's not really good. I love Swinging Thing. They're a great
Uh-huh.
band. I
Yeah.
still
Oh
like
yeah.
jump up and down like a little girl in the front. Like I love their music. It's great. I have no ego about standing in the front and being like, heck yeah, this is awesome.
That's the way I would be. I think if I were ever in a band, I have that attitude that you have. I want to see all my friends
Yep.
bands. I'd be right out there with them. I'd be their biggest fans, even though it's
Well,
got
and
nothing to
again,
do with,
we try to support other bands. In fact, I'm wearing like the American Jet Set. You know those guys?
I do.
I love their new album. Uh, I just think it's amazing. It reminds me of 89 or 87. Like I'm in my car, I'm just cruising in the summer and everything is good. So
Right.
those are great guys. So when they're in town, we go out and support them. We try to be there every time or whatever. It's just any of those kind of things, we still try to get out and support each other.
Right.
I think it's important.
If you could have a conversation with your younger self,
Mhm.
what advice would you give them?
I mean, it'd probably be to be a little more maybe disciplined with things, right? A little more
Uh-huh.
structured with things. I think that doing this at an early age can help you thrive a little better and develop
Mhm.
really better habits to where you're more disciplined to make sure if you want that goal, then this is what you have to do to get there.
Right.
So, and I do that. Like I have my own company and things, but I'm saying I think I struggle with that, right? I'm more the
Right.
creative end of things. It's hard for me to do other things. So even in the
Sure.
music thing back then, we did what we did, but if it could have been maybe just a little more focused, maybe we could have like done a little different path too, right?
Right.
So I think it's focus on what you want to do and then decide how to get there and do something about it. Don't just think about it.
Well, I think bands from this era, I admire them for the simple fact that, like I said, there were so many bands on the strip, and there were so many bands that looked just like the other one, that sounded just like the other one. I mean, you guys had to pay your dues, and you had a lot of competition, and you guys lasted way on into the 2000s before decided that
Yeah.
was it for now.
Yeah.
But you didn't let go of it. Look at you now. You're
Well,
back playing your music again, and that's, you didn't give up
so
on it.
2.5 years. Thank you, by the way. And for
Yeah.
2.5 years ago was the Zeros. I was in Hawaii actually, and I saw an Instagram post that said the Zeros, all original members, and I'm like, what the, like what? Wait a
Yeah.
minute. So I'm like, I want in. I want to play this, and so I called the whiskey. I didn't even know who to talk to at that point. It's been so long. And they're like, yeah, hey, if you guys want to play, we know who you are. And 9:15 slots available. I'm like, I'll take it. I hadn't talked to anybody in the band yet. I'm like, I'll
Yeah.
take it.
Right.
So then
Sure.
start making the phone calls,
Yeah.
and there was hesitancy on everybody's part other than mine. And then it just became, all right, let's do this. Let's get together and let's do this. And at first we didn't know what we would do. We didn't know if we would wear makeup or things or whatever. It was just kind of like, hey, maybe we just go do it. Here we are. And,
Right.
and it just evolved into, oh, screw that. Let's rebuild the light up signs. Let's make some
Yeah.
walls. Yeah, let's get the clothes. I'm gonna get these boots. And it just, and then it became, ah, screw it. Let's just put all the makeup on. Let's just do it.
There you go.
And it became that kind of thing. And it was amazing. Like the response was amazing. And it just, again, it spurred something to where, now we play like, 3 times a year or whatever, but it's great. Like, in fact, coming up October 12th, we have another show at the Whiskey with the Zeros.
I saw that.
Um,
Yes.
and it's the first time again playing with the Zeros since that first time. So it's really special. And I've known Danny Dangerous in the band forever. Like before he was in the Zeros, we got together to maybe do something, but I wasn't where he was musically at that time. He was thinking something different, and I was thinking something different. And to his credit, he was way more right than me, right? Like, it's like the
Yes.
stuff he's into, I'm totally into now. I just wasn't there yet at that time.
Yeah.
Um, and so, I mean, playing with them for me is like got a special place too. I kind of really like it.
Do you guys play? Do you play a lot of gigs, or do you just have certain ones you play
No,
throughout
we're
the
just, I mean,
year?
again, like, so we're kind of spread out. I'm South Orange
Yeah.
County.
Okay.
Our drummer is in San Diego.
Okay.
Our bass player is in Huntington Beach, which is not too far from me, really, like 30 minutes. And then,
Right.
but our guitar player Davey is in Portland. So
Wow.
so when we rehearse, right? It's a whole event. He's flying in, everybody's coming in.
Yeah.
We rehearse for like 3 days, then they all go home. Then a month and a half, 2 months later, we do that again. And
Right.
then before the show, he'll fly in and we play like let's say the show's on a Saturday, like this one
Mhm.
coming up with the Zeros. We'll rehearse on a Thursday and then have Friday off and then go play the show. So everybody's got
Wow.
to do their homework on their own. you know. So, um, but it's great. But so we know we don't play a lot because logistically
Hmm.
it's not possible. Plus, I mean, look, everybody has other things too. I have a family. I have my
Oh
wife, my
yeah.
kids. That's my
Sure.
priority. And
Yes.
so I have to fit this in, and
Hmm.
I'm more than fine with that because this is just a fun, awesome thing that we're doing. But you know, for me, it's got to be over there right now.
Well, it's good that you have a supportive spouse and kids that are like, yeah, yeah, Dad, go be you. Go
Yeah,
go
no,
do
it's
what
it.
you enjoyed.
No, I've actually known my wife since we were like 4 years old.
Oh
So
wow.
she knew about all this stuff prior.
Oh,
So it wasn't a shocker so much. Maybe the shocker that I wanted to do it again. But like for my kids, it was a little like, look at Dad putting on like red lipstick and like red hair and just shiny vinyl pants, like this. I mean, but it's been really fun.
but that's what Dad does. Dad's a cool guy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, hey, just accept it and have some fun. We're having a good time.
I do have some. You did mail me some stickers and some pins and some autograph
Yeah.
pictures last year,
Yeah, I
and I
remember. Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah, this music means so much to me. It's 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 my life, and I
Yeah.
still love it to this
It's a
day.
great time. I mean,
And I'm so glad that you guys are still playing, and even the other bands. I've met some newer guys like Sam Spade from the Midnight Devils.
oh,
I've talked to
Sam's
him,
great.
and
And the Midnight Devils are great. They're
yeah,
so good live. It's ridiculous. I mean, he's a
he's a
great
me-
front man.
yeah, he's a mess. We went to M3 this past year, and they were actually playing in Maryland, but we didn't get there till later in the evening, and it was already over. But I would love to have seen him. But he's a
Oh, he's
great
great.
guy too, and he's just like you. He's like, you know what? I want to be the best band I can be. We're gonna go out there. We're gonna have fun.
Right.
We're gonna give people the
And
best show we possibly can
yeah,
give
and it
them.
shows when they're playing, you
Yeah,
know. We would love to do a show with them. Like, we'd like to try sometime if they're coming back out again. We could do something with the whiskey together, or maybe it's them and enough's enough, them and us, or whatever. I don't care, but I mean, just like to play with them.
yeah. He's a nice guy. I enjoyed talking to him, and I've enjoyed talking to you too. I know you
Thank you.
got you got things to do too, and I'm glad you worked
Well,
with me, and but tell me what you're working on now, what you got in the
I
in
mean,
the
so just the other day, we're back in a studio. We're gonna start releasing some new songs. Um,
nice.
the two we're working on currently are one called Hell Yeah, and then the other one's called Get Ready to Party. But we've got like I've written, I don't know, maybe like 10, 10 new songs. I've got to narrow them down now and like really focus on which
Sure.
ones I really like and whatever. but it's fun to be making new music, even to
Oh
sit
yeah.
back and go, wow, like new Foxy Roxx music, this is fun. Uh, so if we're doing that. F&A Records is also re-releasing our first two CDs.
Okay.
So that
Do
just
you
like
have a
weeks ago.
label? Do you have a label for the new music, or are you gonna
No, we don't.
put it up?
We don't know what we're going to do there yet. We're not
Okay.
sure. We've had some interest from some people that want to put it out. I'm not sure what we're going to do with that yet.
Okay.
Um,
But you'll get it
so
out some way or one way, some way or another. You'll get it out.
yeah, we'll get it out there. I mean, but it's coming out good. I mean, all we have like now is the rough tracks. Like, I mean,
Yes.
it's complete, but there's no mixing yet. There's no anything. There's no,
Right.
but it's been really, really fun, honestly, to start working on these. And it'll
Well,
just be really fun to put new music out.
I'm glad you're still I'm glad you're still living the Foxy Roxy dream.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, again, having
I
fun
think
with
it's
it,
great.
right?
I think it's great. Trust me. I love to see that this podcast is something that I drug my feet on for so many years. And then my wife's like, if you don't just do it, do it. You got to do it. And I've talked to so many nice people that, I never thought I'd ever talk to. People like yourself that would take the time. I'm not the best podcaster. I just
Oh, you're
talk
great.
about
I've
what I
totally
like to
enjoyed
talk.
talking to you.
I just
I'm
talk about what I like to talk about, and it's the
I'm
80s.
feeling like you're gonna have to get on a plane, man, or something, and get out here for a show. I mean,
Hey, yeah, if I can get out there at some point in time, I most certainly will. Because I want to. I would love to go to the whiskey,
if we do that
one
show
time.
next year, again, if it's the way I want to do it with everybody that I want to have play on it, you got to come out. You'd be able to
Okay,
see like 4 or 5 bands in one shot,
one shot. Well,
right?
I'll get with the missus about that and see if we can't work something out.
Got to work it out.
She's the tell all end all. So, but she
I
likes
know,
this
right? Like
music
I get it
too.
too. Believe me.
She likes this music too. She's gotten into it, a whole lot. We've been married almost 4 years, and she's gotten into it a whole lot.
Oh, that's
I'm
great.
proud of her. She can actually look at somebody and tell me who they are now, and
Oh, that's good.
listen to a band on the radio and tell me who the band is. So I'm proud
Oh,
of her
that's
for
awesome.
that.
Well,
So,
we'd love to have you come out for a show at some point, man, next year. Be
well,
good for
I'll
your
see what I can
podcast
do.
too, right? I mean, you could really
Exactly.
do your thing. It'd be fun. The interviews or
Well,
whatever, like, right? It'd be fun.
I'll see I'll see if I can work on that. You
Yeah,
know.
that'll be fun. Be a fun time.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I thank
Yeah,
you
you
so
too.
much for giving me the time. And I'll let you know when I post the podcast, and I'll
That sounds great.
yeah, all that kind of good stuff. And
No, I've had a great time. Thank you for doing the interview. It was very fun talking to you. And again, all good stuff. I mean, we're very liking what we liked from that time, and it was really special for a lot of people. So
I think so
it's
too. And it's a time that um, I don't think it'll ever be replicated, but it'll never be forgotten either.
yeah, no, it won't ever be like that up there again, I don't think. But I mean, uh, but yeah, it will not be forgotten for sure.
But I'm going to make sure it's not forgotten
Me
till the
too.
day till the there you
As
go.
long as we're still doing this, I'm going to push it down everybody's throat too. So
Long as there you go. As long as I can keep posting it, I'm going to keep posting people like, hey, dude, enough. Just stop. Then I'll
that's
be like,
right.
okay, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
That's right. Exactly.
Well, you take care of yourself, sir, and God bless you. And thank you so much.
All right, too, man. Thanks,
Bye
man.
bye, sir.
I'll see
Thank
you.
you. All right.